So I know that I said in the last video that it would be our final video, there would be no preseason videos, and we would see you week one. However, after watching that game last night on the plane coming back from a family vacation, it was too much to resist. So we are back. The studio is gone because, as I mentioned, we were moving. There's going to be a new studio for week one, but we're making do with what we got. We are in the backyard studio. Let's just get right into it. This is going to be a quick one. Shedeur Sanders. I made the video in, I think, March that he should arguably be the number 2 overall pick for the Browns. That was kind of where things stood for me. And that was really because I just saw a guy who was elite in the short to intermediate game, a guy who was extremely poised, who could hang in there, who was tough, who could take the hits, who could lead a team, and a guy where just no moment was too big for him. And then after this whole crazy media spin that happened, which I still don't understand why, and I also don't subscribe to the fact that the NFL is trying to blackball a player like that. Why would you want to do that? Shedeur is the most marketable player in the league probably since OBJ. Once he becomes a starter, it will be on that level. So it's like the NFL isn't trying to blackball him for that. Like, that's just crazy to me. However, there was clearly something. And with that being said, they made him out to be this guy who was a worse player than Tyler Shuck, a 25-year-old from Louisville who looked like a clown at the combine at moments. And, you know, all respect to him. Hope he has a great career. But from what you're seeing in training camp so far, Tyler Shuck not living up to where he was drafted. Also, Jackson Dart, we'll see. I think that game is starting right now. I'm going to have to check that out. But it was just clear. Shedeur is the best player in terms of quarterbacks available. Like, why would you not go with that guy? And after seeing what we saw last night, you would very easily be able to make the argument. Like, let's go back like 5, 6, 7 years. If any quarterback, and we're not talking Shedeur Sanders because people will always have their biases and their hate and whatever, because they just don't vibe with the kind of dude he is and whatever. That's for people's own individual choices and reasons, which I will never understand. But like, say Jaden Daniels, number 2 overall pick, CJ Stroud goes out there and their first preseason game looks like what Shedeur had. It's not that you'd be like, oh my God, what a steal, because it's the number 2 overall pick, right? But what you wouldn't be saying is like, I don't know, maybe the moment was too big for him. Maybe he wasn't worthy of the 2nd overall pick. If the number 2 overall pick had that game, went 14 for 23, threw 2 touchdowns, and had a 106 passer rating, regardless of the fact that it was the first preseason game and you're playing the Carolina Panthers, you would be like, okay, yeah, like that tracks. That's what the number 2 overall pick looks like. And that's why, like, all those things that we saw last night, that is why I thought he should have been the number 2 overall pick. The fact that it worked out this way for the Browns, I am extremely, extremely happy for. And if you're not happy for that, then you're a Shedeur Sanders fan, not a Browns fan. For Browns fans, this is the greatest thing possible. We got Mason Graham out of this. We got 2 first-round picks out of this. And now, this is an extreme overreaction, but if Shedeur turns out to be the truth, to be the guy, to be the long-lost messiah the Browns have been waiting for since Bernie Kosar, that means you can get Caleb Downs next year. You get the best defensive player coming out of the draft, maybe since Myles Garrett. The safety who the Browns have been waiting for to create a championship back end to pair with Grant Delpit and Denzel Ward. Like, that is the possibility that this opens up. So this is all great. However, should we be overreacting? Like, where does this leave things now? We're going to kind of dive into that quickly here, but let's talk about the good things that Shedeur Sanders did. So right off the bat, a couple miscues, just like some chemistry things, probably some miscommunications with his receivers. He was 3 for 7 to start the game. That first pass to Deontay Johnson, little high, especially for a smaller receiver. You need to protect your guy, get the ball down, hit your guy in the chest. He knows that. I'm not trying to coach him, but those are the things that you're going to have to see fixed going forward. What was really great, though, was, I think, number one was after the slow start, the Browns get a break, they recover a muffed punt, and then that's when champions, that's when great players, that's when legends smell blood, and that's what Shedeur Sanders did. He smells blood, gets his opportunity, goes out, makes him pay, throws a dot to Caden Davis. Rolling out to his left side into the boundary, they're running a flood concept, and he layers the ball over top of the flat defender and in front of the trailing defender right into Davis's arms. When he threw that, I was watching this on a plane coming back from Vancouver on a little family vacation, and I was like, oh my God, that's an interception. Threads the needle, touchdown. Gorgeous stuff. And that's exactly what you saw at Colorado. That is what I was banging on the table in that video. Again, I'll link it below. Go watch it. Like my breakdown of him, I was like, the dude, his touch and anticipation is so next level. And that is what matters at the NFL level. People being like, oh, his arm strength isn't enough. He can't really rip the ball. He underthrows. He pats the ball. It's like, first of all, the ball patting thing is like, that's just a rhythm and timing thing. It does not matter. A corner is not breaking on a ball because he pats the ball. And I'll eat my words if it happens, but it's just not what happens in football. It's just not. I'm sorry. But seeing that, seeing the anticipation translate from the college level to the pro level was a beautiful thing. And then moving on in that game, there's a moment where they're backed up. 2nd and 12, I think he's standing in his own end zone. The pass rusher's coming. He takes it on the chin and still delivers a strike on a dig route down the hash mark. That is gorgeous. And that is something that has been missing. A lot of people hate on Kevin Stefanski, on his offense. The fact of the matter is that when you have a guy who can produce and go through the progressions and make the reads and hit the throws, it's a potent offense. That's why Baker was so good in 2020 in his first year. He operated and executed the offense. Why Joe Flacco comes in, wins Comeback Player of the Year. Why Kevin Stefanski wins Coach of the Year for the second time in 2023. It's because they executed the offense. They worked through the reads, and there's always somebody open. If you go back last year and look at Deshaun Watson, year before with Deshaun Watson, with Jacoby Brissett, there's constant instances of guys wide open down the middle of the field on the second or third read in a progression that they're not coming back to. They're locked down. They're throwing the ball downfield, throwing it away, throwing it out of bounds. When if they hold on to the ball for one more second, stay calm in the pocket, and work down to the backside, that backside dig is popping. If Shedeur Sanders can do that consistently, he is going to be a menace for this team and for this offense. And Kevin Stefanski is going to finally get more respect because, again, you look back with Kirk Cousins, with Case Keenum, all his time in Minnesota as their offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, they had great offenses. And this is part of the reason why. It's a good system. When you can run the ball and you have a quarterback who protects it and goes through his progressions, you're going to score points. You're going to win games. So, honestly, it was very, very promising to see. And it's like, how much do we overreact to this? People being like, okay, now this means that he needs to be the starter. We need to see a whole hell of a lot more before we're talking about that. We need to see him do all the little things right now because he makes the big plays. He makes the wow plays. Can he consistently place the ball well on those slants like we saw Mr. Deontay Johnson? Those little moments where he breaks out of the pocket and then he skips a ball short of a wide open guy out in the flats. Like those are the times where those have to be 100%ers. Those are the plays that you have to make 100% of the time. Those more wow plays, the 2 touchdown throws that he made, you got to make those 2-3 times a game. But the other 35 times you're throwing the ball, you gotta make the simple play, the simple read, get the ball out quick. And I think overall, like if you're grading his performance, I would give it a B+, A-. And that is good enough. Like an A+ game is like, 400 plus yards, 4 touchdowns, and you go 37 for 40 or something like that. Like those games might happen once a year. If they happen multiple times, that's an MVP. Like that was like Joe Burrow multiple games last year. So with that being said, let's temper our expectations and not get too excited because he still has a lot of development to do going forward, and that is expected and that's fine. But the good news is like he's more than ready for the moment when he is called upon. When will that moment come? I'm not sure. Does he have a chance of being the week 1 starter? I think there's realistically an opportunity there. I've been saying it's going to be week 7 against the Dolphins when he gets a shot, because I've argued you want to protect him from those defenses, specifically in the uncertainty of the Browns offensive line. Yeah, there's a big contingent of new Browns fans who are really just Shedeur fans, and they think anytime he's not starting or this and that, like it's this injustice and that he's being blackballed and that they're setting up to fail. Guys, that is just complete horseshit. I'm sorry. I apologize for swearing. Jimmy Haslam wants to do 2 things: sell tickets and win games. And he wants to win games because winning games helps you sell more tickets. And he wants a high-profile marquee name to be his quarterback, because that puts butts in seats and sells jerseys. Shedeur Sanders will be the most marketable athlete once he starts, which will happen this year, believe me. He will be the most marketable athlete since Odell Beckham Jr. Like, that is what this is going to be. He's going to be a megastar. He already is a megastar. Look at all the fans that were at that game wearing Shedeur jerseys. It's insane. He already is the highest selling jersey. Jimmy Haslam wants Shedeur to be the starter, regardless of what he says and him putting his foot in his mouth and being like, I didn't make the pick. None of that stuff matters, guys. If they have a quarterback who's going to win them games and who is a big name, they're going to want to play him. And who knows when that will come. Realistically, if he plays sooner rather than later, that would probably, if the owners are meddling, it would probably come from the owners, not even the coaches. They'd be like, get him in the game. Like, we want to see him do this. We want to get people excited about this. So it's like, stop the mental gymnastics. Let's talk football here, not persona or what's right and what's wrong and this and that. From a football perspective, he still has some growing to do, and he needs to do more through this preseason. He needs to make more of the routine plays. He needs to make more of getting his team ready to go. If he can be the guy who can stop the pre-snap penalties, that would be the greatest thing for me to see, where it's like, okay, you command this offense at a different level. It's not that you know what you're doing every play. It's that you know what your team needs to be doing every play. You understand the play clock's running out. You know you need to get your guys set. You need to do all these things to stop the illegal shifts, the illegal formations, the time count violations, like all these things that have consistently happened with the Browns quarterbacks since Baker. If he can be that guy, that to me is the clear indication that he is ready for it. And I think there's a chance that we see that. What do we need to see to get to that point? Honestly, I think he needs to have, not that I think, this is what it will take for him to be the week 1 starter. He's going to have the level of play that Russell Wilson did back in 2010, 2011, when they brought in Matt Flynn on that big free agent contract. He had been starting for Aaron Rodgers when Rodgers was injured in Green Bay. Seattle signs him as this big signing, akin to what you see with Sam Darnold right now in Seattle. But Russell Wilson comes out, and all 4 games of his preseason were so lights out that I was like, it is clear, this is the dude. Trade Matt Flynn. Russell Wilson, you're a starter. That is what it is going to take. So yeah, there was a ton of really, really great stuff to watch in this game. It's going to be exciting to see how the rest of this plays out, but we're also going to have to see what we have in Dillon Gabriel. And we're going to have to see what we have in Kenny Pickett. Why? It's not because they're blackballing Shedeur Sanders and they're setting him up to fail and they don't want him to be the starter. Let me tell you again, they want Shedeur Sanders to be the starter. They do. They won't tell you that because that would be stupid and irresponsible. The Browns ownership, the front office, they want him to start. The players want him to start. Why? Aura. It's like, that is just the truth of the matter. They vibe with that guy. You can feel it. It is a different energy. However, no one's going to come out and say it because that would be the dumbest thing you could possibly say. It's also week 1 of the preseason. So this is what you're going to see going forward now. And this is going to send, again, not Browns fans, but the Shedeur fans up into an upheaval. Kenny Pickett is going to continue to get second-team reps. Dillon Gabriel, once he's healthy again, you're going to see continue to get reps. And you may be saying, why? That's useless. Those guys aren't going to be the long-term starters. I would agree with you 100% of the time, but this is the thing. This is a long-term play. You have to recoup the value of what you gave up to get those players. And how do you do that? You get them on the field, you get practice tape on them, you get preseason game film on them, and you show that they have value. So that means you get a return on your investment. That means that you recoup some of the draft equity that you gave up to get Kenny Pickett and get Dillon Gabriel. And that is what the team needs to do. This is a team game. This is an organizational game. It is bigger than one player. So that's what people need to realize within all this. When this happens, it is not because there's this grand conspiracy. It is because they have to recoup what they gave up. And honestly, yeah, that Dillon Gabriel pick, I mean, God bless him. Maybe he is a good player, but it was clear from day one to me. I'm like, why would you draft this guy in the 3rd round? He was standing behind 2 NFL tackles. He had an NFL receiver in Tez Johnson. He had an NFL running back. Like, I'm sorry. Dillon Gabriel is a small, undersized dude. He's going to be a career backup, most likely. If he comes out and shocks us, and he somehow looks even better than Shedeur Sanders did in the last game, I will literally put out another video and be like, I'm sorry, Shedeur. Dillon Gabriel's the truth. I would not put any money on that, though. This is the big thing now. Joe Flacco is QB1. That is the way it is. However, this will likely now spur the Browns to put more on his plate to make him get into those preseason games so they can actually evaluate one for one with those guys. And now, hopefully, Shedeur is going to get more first-team reps, but not just first-team reps. Like, he just needs to create some chemistry with Jerry Jeudy, with Harold Fannin, with David Njoku, and you got to see what you got from that perspective. So, I think without making this video go too long, let's just touch on a couple more things. And this is kind of like relating back to like the Shedeur fan mania. Like, they hate Kevin Stefanski and think that he hates Shedeur because he didn't say anything about Shedeur in his postseason, or sorry, in the post-game press conference and the team speech. Guys, this is how we know you're new fans. Kevin Stefanski has never said anything outwardly positive about a player unless they A, clinched a playoff spot, or B, are named Nick Chubb or Myles Garrett, who are, I mean, Myles Garrett's a definite Hall of Famer. Nick Chubb, if he can rattle off a few more good seasons, could be a Hall of Famer. He's one of the great Browns in Browns history. It's like, that is what you have to get to. This is a rookie. This is a rookie playing in his first preseason game. I am sure he is pulling him aside one-on-one and being like, look, dude, you had a really good game. Let's keep building on this. That's all he needs. Kevin Stefanski is not his dad. Shedeur's been playing for his dad his whole career, essentially. It's not going to be the same type of feedback. And sure, could he give him a couple more attaboys? Definitely. But it's just too early for all of that. He did the job he was expected to do when they gave him this opportunity. Or maybe they didn't expect him to do it and he over excelled and did even better than what they thought. But it's just not Kevin Stefanski's job to be a fan for Shedeur Sanders. That is the fan's job. That is his family's job to support him. He needs to coach him. He needs to put him in the right position to succeed. And he has clearly done that. If he's trying to sabotage him, if he's setting him for failure, like, people like RG3 try to argue, it's like, that is not what is happening. He wouldn't have come out and had that performance if he was not being poured into and being coached. Like, this thought that is like, oh, he's this finished product and he's ready to come out and be an all-pro level quarterback out of Colorado. That is not how it works, man. Like, people aren't self-made. People don't do it on their own. You have to have coaching and attention and care at every level. He's clearly been getting that. So good job on Tommy Rees, on Kevin Stefanski for getting him ready for this. And great job on Shedeur for like believing in the process. This is the big thing. It's like the fans and the media are always like, he is like being treated so bad. And like they paint this world where it's like he's the victim in every situation. Thank God he doesn't have that mindset that, if you're one of those people that people like you have about him. He doesn't have that. He believes like this is God's plan. He's going to be put in the right position. It's like Shedeur is a Christian. And in that belief, he's been taught and told that it's like God has plans for good and not destruction. Like, there is a greater plan for your life. He believes that. He is where he's supposed to be. So all these people saying free Shedeur, free 12, da da da. He's exactly where he is supposed to be. He's going to be put in positions to succeed. And if he continues to lean into that, he is going to get his opportunity. When it comes, we don't know. It will come at the right time. Perfect timing. You know, I won't ever do that again until he wins his first regular season game, which I believe will come this year. All joking aside, I think that this team, as in general, let's get off the Shedeur topic for a second. I think that the team looked much better than it did last year at this time. And people, if you're one of these people who says preseason doesn't matter, I'm sorry, you never played football. Like, preseason really does matter. It matters from an operational standpoint. And last year, game one, it's like constant penalties, could not run the ball whatsoever, missing tackles. You could tell they were fundamentally drained last year, and they look head and shoulders better than where they were last year. A lot of that is like the cats that you bring in-house, but I think getting Ken Dorsey out of the building and Kevin Stefanski understanding that it is his team again is the right move. So that was really good to see. Also, too, like Mason Graham, Carson Schwessinger, really excited about those guys. Carson Schwessinger in particular, I think he's like the most excited I've been for a player in I don't know how long, because the Browns haven't had a great middle linebacker, like a truly great. Like, they had Demario Davis for a year, who was really good, but they moved off of him, and he goes to the Jets, and then the Saints, and he's like been great for the Saints ever since. He just didn't really pan out in Cleveland. D'Qwell Jackson, really solid. He's no Patrick Willis, who is, but he just wasn't on that level. Carson Schwessinger has the opportunity to be the staple middle linebacker. Now that Jordan Hicks is gone and he's retired, like, Carson Schwessinger could step in and like become our Luke Kuechly. Luke Kuechly is a high level to hit. It's one of the great linebackers in NFL history, but Carson, man, like, he's extremely intelligent, reactive, athletic, and that's who he idolizes. So if he can emulate some of that play, man, I am really pumped for that, because I think linebacker play has been one of our weak points over the past few years, and I think that pick is going to really turn out to pay out. Mason Graham, who's getting good penetration across the line of scrimmage, blowing up some run plays. I thought that he had some good pass rush moments. I think when you pair him with Mike Hall, when Mike Hall's healthy, and Myles Garrett, man, that's going to be a really good team. So all this talk of like the Browns, like people being like, one thing we know for sure is the Browns are going to be terrible. I'm like, guys, like, this is starting to feel like 2023. Where everyone undervalued the Browns, and then they go out and they shock the world. I don't think they're going to have an 11-win season. I previously said I think their ceiling is 7 wins. I think that that's probably pretty good. But this talk that they're going to be a 3-4 win team, they're going to be picking number 1 or 2 overall, like, guys, that's not happening. And that's part of the reason why people are going to need and want Shedeur to work out, because if he pans out, you don't have to take a quarterback next year. You could get Caleb Downs. You can get the best defensive player coming out of the draft since Myles Garrett. Like, Caleb Downs is going to be a nasty player. That's a guy I would love to put in Cleveland. Make this defense elite and just get high character guys who do it the right way and play with a hard nose to the ball. And I'm pretty pleased with what we've seen so far. So with that being said, let's rally next week. I said that we weren't going to do any videos in the preseason. This is just like too much to pass up. I'm going to be traveling a little bit for work over the coming months. I'm moving at the end of the month. It's going to be a new studio. So if you guys want some more updates, join the Patreon. I also said that we'd be stopping the Patreon because we were kind of inactive. I didn't want to charge people because, I'm like that. I'm not trying to charge my buds, my pals, my guys, my gals if we're not producing. But that's probably going to be coming back up soon. So I'll hit people up about that. If you want to join, support the page, that's a great way to do it. Like, we don't do sponsorships on here. I'm not trying to sell you guys MeUndies or BetterHelp or any of that garbage. We're just trying to talk football and want to do it relatively ad-free. So if it's in your guys' ability and you want to support the page, consider the Patreon. Again, it might not be active right now, but you can join for free, be updated when stuff does drop. And then if you want to float us a couple bucks here and there, that'd be awesome. So we appreciate you guys. Let me know what you thought of Shedeur Sanders' first performance, what you thought of the Browns' first performance in general, and we will see you after our next preseason game. I believe it's the Eagles, and we got joint practices, so there's going to be a lot to talk about. See you in the next one.